Welcome. Come on in and make yourself comfortable. My name is Shanice, but you can call me Charles. So this channel is going to be a little bit about a lot of it, to be honest. Topics mostly centered around money because that's what I'm most passionate about. And that's something that's important for everyone to know and have conversations about. Everyone needs it and wants it, but not everyone has access to it. So let's talk about it. This is also going to serve for myself and for whoever's watching as a visual diary to mark progress. I know I'm in my early 20s and I really just got out here and I'm really just understanding and grasping concepts about money. So whether you're in that boat as well, whether or not you're a bit older, whether or not you're a bit younger, I hope that this provides information and knowledge that is helpful to all viewers. The topic of this video is going to be how being broke is the name of the game. So, quick story time. This was August 2021. I just graduated college. I was working my first job. It was as a financial advisor in somewhat of a well-known company, or a pretty well-known company actually. I was saving up to get my first apartment, and I had a credit card that I had went over the limit for because I had some financial unexpected events that happened that caused me to just be frantic for money, and I didn't plan that properly. So instead I overdrafted on my credit card and I went into the negative. So I tell this story because I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Just being young, being given access to all these things. You only have to be 18 to sign a credit card without a guarantor. And as a student, it's easier to get a credit card because you can get a student credit card. And as predatory as it may be, it's super helpful because you are given so much responsibility, whether that's like a recently acquired phone bill, or you buying a car, or you having to, pay your own car insurance. Things like that just come up and just can kind of throw you into this whirlwind. So that's what happened to me. And from this experience, I beat myself up a lot. I was like, dang, because I've always learned and I've always heard from older people that getting a credit card, one, when you're young, is the dumbest decision that you could make because you don't know much about money. You don't know how to pay things on time. You don't know how to have a budget. You don't know these things. What made it worse was that I majored in finance, or like a finance focused field. So how am I supposed to be this growing professional, but I'm still making these childish mistakes, overdrafting a credit card, not paying it on time, not doing what I'm supposed to do? And this brings us to why being broke, you just gonna have to embrace it, because one, wealth takes time, especially being in your early 20s / and post college. You don't have access to money. I don't know if you guys experience or may have experienced in a similar vein that I did, of either I started working when I was 15. Ever since I was able to work on a work permit, I worked. So I always had access to money, but when I was in high school, I didn't have to manage my own money. And then once I got to college, I didn't really have to manage it either because I was on a full ride, and food, room, board, books were mostly paid for through either my part-time job or through scholarship money. So I didn't really have to worry. But once you get out of college, that's when things really start picking up. I didn't have the option of staying with my parents after I graduated college, so I already had to throw myself into a mindset of I'm having this large expense, which is going to be rent. $900 upwards to $12,000 every month from this paycheck that I just recently touched adult money. Like, I'm not trying to give up my access to this big paycheck, this big payday, and giving it to somebody else so that I can borrow something. That concept took a lot of getting used to. So in that instance, you have a lot to learn. You have to give yourself time to grow into this new found responsibility that you're now going to have. And that's why, after college, putting a down payment down, taking all of my savings and putting it into, I bought a car, I think I bought a car. I had car insurance, I had rent, I had my phone bill, I had all my bills that I was responsible for at this moment. So I wasn't touching most of the money that I was receiving. Number 2, even with life's unexpectedness, nothing is guaranteed. I was lucky enough to be able to get a job maybe 2 months before I was set to graduate. And I've always had a work ethic about me where I'm like, I always want to have money coming in. I feel uncomfortable if I'm not working. I feel lethargic if I'm not working because I'm not making any money. Like, what, And life is so unexpected. Even when you're not in your 20s, even when you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, things happen. Tragedies happen. You lose your job, you get laid off, you lose your house. Anything can happen. And that's kind of the beauty of life, but also the tragic reality of it is that you kind of have to have an emergency fund and things like that and put aside in order for you to combat those instances where you are going to be in dire financial constraint. Being broke is not something to be afraid of, despite the fact that it's gonna happen. There are gonna be instances where you're not gonna have as much money at your disposal as you would like. It's important to get out of a scarcity mindset when it comes to money, which is something that I'm learning now as well, is just because, oh my gosh, I got this paycheck and I haven't touched $100 in maybe like a month. Like $100 that's mine, I can spend it. It's not being allocated to anything outside of me and whatever I want to allocate it for. I haven't had that in a minute. I feel like a drug cartel member. It feels like a kingpin, and you make your first drop and you like, dang, this is a lot of money that I'm touching. This all me. And I would just go out and spend it, I'm going out with my friends. I'm about to go buy this thing that I had in my Amazon cart for a minute now. I'm about to go fill up my gas tank and put $50, $60 in my gas tank, because when am I ever going to touch this type of money again? And it's important to get out of that mind frame, because abundance comes when you expect that you're worth abundance. So when I say that, what I mean is not being like, oh my gosh, I got $100. What can I spend this on? Because, never know when I'm going to touch this again. Instead, put it aside, save it. As long as you have your core money, whatever you need to buy groceries, whatever you need to pay to put gas in your tank, whatever you need for the essentials. If you have a spare $100, do not feel the need that you have to spend that, because whatever you're spending it on, it's going to be there in the next $100 that you touch. But now when you put that $100 aside, maybe you invest it, put it in stocks, put it in NFTs, put it in, recently I learned that they have like crowdfunding for real estate, which is crazy. And it's so interesting because that removes a lot of the barrier to entry, because it's this expectation that you have to have like a large sum of money in order to invest in real estate. But with this, you end up becoming like a partial owner / partial investor on a real estate property. And that way you don't have to have maybe $100,000 to buy an entire unit. Maybe you have only $100, only $200 to put into that, but you're still receiving residual income from that over time. And that's a beautiful thing. So try to do something like that. Put $100 aside, invest that. Also, I know there's the concept of like save, but savings accounts yield the least interest over time. Like maybe less than 1%. I think it was 0.5% when I learned it in college. It was something like 0.5%. It's not a lot at all. So try to put it into a treasury bond where there's less risk. Put it into stocks if you're more if you're less risk adverse. Put it into real estate. Put it into, make that money work for you, because this is not going to be the last time that you touch $100, if that makes sense. So, key takeaway. There's this concept or this phrase that a YouTube couple that I watch, EC Meme and Josh. EC Meme Adeko and Josh. I'm sorry for butchering your name if you're watching this. But they said this phrase, which is the 5 P's. Poor preparation prevents poor performance. When you take that outside of any other realm that you can apply that to, and applying it solely to money, when you prepare yourself for constraints, you put yourself in a better position to be able to survive and stay afloat. You don't want to have this mentality that, you know, I'm broke now, I'm going to be broke forever, or you're up now, you got money now, but I'm going to always be wealthy. That's just not guaranteed to anyone. It's crazy how unexpected life is, and it's important to plan for those instances. Do not take me as an expert when I say this. Yes, I got a degree in finance / economics, and yes, I am living proof. I'm trying to live by these values currently as well, and I also educate myself by reading and, you know, doing research on a lot of things, and I work in the financial industry now. But do not take me as an expert, because what I do may not work for everyone else, and I'm also not the most successful at what I'm doing right now, but I'm learning. And this is one thing that I've learned, is that, or am learning and trying to instill in myself, is to embrace the times when I'm going to be broke. Like, it's just what it is. It's a waiting game. A lot of times you have to wait to build wealth. You have to wait for instances where you can touch money again. Sometimes you're going to have to be broke if you have a lot of debt. And in those instances, it's about your mentality when it comes to these things. It's less about, oh, I'm in a pretty bad situation right now. Oh, I'm so stupid for putting myself in this situation. That negative self-talk doesn't really get you anywhere. It gets you from standing upright, being like, dang, this kind of sucks, to going to sleep and being like, dang, maybe if I go to sleep, the problem will go away. And it won't. But when you hone in on what the issues are, start creating a plan, and then look at it as like, yeah, I'm broke for now, but in the next however long it may take me to be up again, I'm going to be up, and that's something that's guaranteed to me. But I'm not going to let this short instance of poverty or being in financial need strictly define me. So please plan. If you have money now that you aren't doing anything with, put it to use. Make sure you have an emergency fund. Make sure you have these things so that, let's say if you're renting and for 1 month you can't pay your rent, you have access to money that you can allocate to that. But just don't have this, or try not to have this mentality of like, woe is me, and as soon as you touch money, that mentality becomes almost like a vulture and parasitic, and it takes the money and it holds on to it, and it spoils itself because it feels like it's never going to have this access again. I know I'm beating a dead horse, and I'm sure you get it, but I want to drive this point home very, very well, because I fall victim to it as well. So please, be financially smart. I'm going to have additional topics and videos on here about different things that I'm doing with my money, different concepts that I'm learning that's helping me become more financially intuitive. And, you know, also being a Black person, it's important for me to talk about money, because I want to, not even, you know, just because I'm Black, but because I am who I am, I want people to have financial freedom and financial prosperity, which was one of my sole reasons for majoring in this in college. So hopefully from this video you took something that's helpful. I will keep you updated on everything, because I'm going to drop a video once a week. And hopefully this was helpful to somebody. If not, let me know why in the comments. And if so, let me know why in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.